Hi, thank you for joining us on this episode of Sports Bets for Free. My name is Scott Jenkins, your host, just a local sports bettor here in Phoenix, Arizona. And hopefully today with our picks and your picks, it's going to be another profitable day for you. Happy February 13th, Tuesday, the February 13th. We'll get into the basketball slate today. Decent day for us yesterday. We were a couple plays away from having a monster again, but still profitable day. Always good to keep that profit streak going every day. So we had a ton of bets yesterday, near 100 different wagers, and to come in, 60 plus units up, we'll definitely take that all day long and twice on Sunday, right? So, like I said, we were close, but it was a heavy slate yesterday, so, we did get pegged a lot of the games, and then the ones that, we're off on, of course, and ended up being like a clean sweep against. So, no problem whatsoever. We'll get back to it today. Ready to rock this. Quite a bit of college going on in NBA. NBA's got a smaller slate overall, being Tuesdays and Thursdays are the slower slate days normally of games, but definitely some quality stuff there to look at. But we'll get started with college basketball. First one's going to be number 7 Marquette going to Butler. Marquette, small favorite here, 4.5 points. We're looking at both teams here. Butler's been pretty decent at home and not so great on the road. Marquette's comes off a big win in their last game. Marquette is definitely the better team here. They've got somebody on the inside. They've got better guard play. I just think that number being less than that key number of 5 in basketball is kind of big in this particular matchup here. Marquette should win this game. If this is a neutral floor game, I think Marquette's almost favored by double digits. So we'll take Marquette here in this particular one. We did catch this at 4 a little bit earlier. I think you can still catch it at 4 on DraftKings, so make sure you do shop this one around. Marquette minus 2.5 first half, and then also minus 4 for the game. One more time, Marquette minus 2.5 first half, minus 4 for the game. Next game up that we've got on the radar is going to be Iowa State, Cincinnati. Iowa State has been unbelievable at home. They played okay on the road. I wouldn't call it fantastic. They have beat some teams on the road in the Big 12. Cincinnati's a tough place to play. This is going to be the first time, basically, Iowa State going there since he's a new member of the Big 12. We're going to stick with those unranked teams that are favored at home against ranked teams. Those normally pan out pretty well. Cincinnati minus 1.5 in this game, and we're going to roll with Cincy here. So Cincinnati minus 0.5 in the first half, minus 1.5 for the game. One more time, Cincinnati minus 0.5 first half, minus 1.5 for the game. Next game up we're going to get into is going to be Providence, St. John's. If this game's at Madison Square Garden, I think we're all over St. John's here, but it's not. It's at Providence. So we're going to lay this 1.5 here with Providence. These Big East battles have been absolutely entertaining with these teams that are pretty competitive against each other. Now, when UConn plays Georgetown, or you'll see we're taking Creighton here in a little bit as well against Georgetown, maybe not so much. But these other teams have played extremely well. But we do like Providence here to cover the number at home. Minus 0.5 first half, minus 1.5 for the game. One more time, Providence minus 0.5 first half, minus 1.5 for the game. Then we'll get back on the slate here. There's a Texas A&M and Vanderbilt. So the line right now around 8.5 A&M going to Vanderbilt. Total around 135.5. Vanderbilt is one of the best under teams in the country. Not necessarily because of their fantastic defense. Porous offense has a lot to do with that. So we do like the total in this matchup. We actually like it going under to kind of roll with the Vanderbilt theme there of the under. So Texas A&M Vanderbilt under 64.5 first half, and then under 135.5 for the game. So one more time, Texas A&M Vanderbilt under 64.5 first half, under 135.5 for the game. Then we'll get back to the Creighton Georgetown. The rule of thumb is just bet against Georgetown every time. I don't know if they've made the number big enough yet, so we'll roll with that number here. Creighton at home, Georgetown having to travel to boot. So we do like Creighton minus 11.5 first half, minus 19.5 for the game. One more time, Creighton minus 11.5 first half, minus 19.5 for the game. Next game we're on is going to be Oklahoma Baylor. Baylor coming off a tough loss against Kansas. KU lost. DeJuan Harris didn't have McCullers in that game. Baylor didn't really hit many shots. Little poor shooting night. Normally needs to averaging out maybe on the next game, especially when they're going home now. Baylor headed to home, so we like Baylor here, and I don't think 6.5 is near enough points. So we'll lay the points with Baylor. So Baylor minus 3.5 first half, and then minus 6.5 for the game. One more time, Baylor minus 3.5 first half, and minus 6.5 for the game. And the last game of the night we're on is UCF BYU. BYU at home again. UCF coming to town. UCF's played really well as of late. Even getting a road win, they've been tough at home against even the big boys in the Big 12 this season so far. Knocking off Kansas. They played Houston. They've played some really good games at home, but played well. BYU has had a couple, maybe not their best shooting nights. So I think one of those regression turns into progression type things, where maybe they have a good shooting night. So we're going to stay away from the line there, as that number's creeping towards 12. But we do like this total at 143.5 for sure. So we're going to take UCF and BYU over 68 first half and over 143.5 for the game. UCF and BYU over 68 first half and over 143.5 for the game. That game will go over if BYU shoots well from three. If they don't, it's going under. So if you want to, that's the easiest probably breakdown you can make for that particular matchup there. It's all going to boil down to how well BYU shoots the three ball. So on that one there. Now we'll get into the NBA slate as we're done with college on that one for us. But Celtics, Nets, this line's it's 8.5. It's 9 in a lot of spots. I know ESPN still had an 8.5 out there a little bit ago. Porzingis is on the injury report. His game time decision, but everything we're hearing, he's going to play. He had some little bit of, what was it, a back contusion, which is a back bruise or soreness or stuff like that. He makes the difference for this team, though. So if you want to wait to make sure Porzingis is going to play, I don't blame you whatsoever, because when he plays, this offense it spreads out beautifully. There seems to be a lot of opportunities. They pissed away the cover in the game at Miami as Jaylen Brown decided to have 4 turnovers in the fourth quarter. But I don't expect the Nets to be putting that kind of heat on them, to be really honest. So this could be one of those games where, they're up 25 midway through the fourth and then sit them for the rest of the game. So the Nets have just been, when they have good shooting nights, they look like the most unbelievable team in the league. Like when you got Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson and Cam Thomas and Ben Simmons spread it around to them a few times. They've looked tremendous. The problem is you only get that. It's like a lunar eclipse. You only get it a couple times a season. Most of the time, though, it's if the ball gets to Cam Thomas, everybody stops, and Cam Thomas tries to take some ridiculous shot. That's what it normally boils down to. It's absolutely a shame. I understand, if you just look at the box score, you're like, well, Cam Thomas had 26 points, or Cam Thomas had 27 points, or he had 40 points. Yeah, but he normally has to take 30 shots to get 30 points. What's the point of that? He just takes these ridiculously hard shots instead of keeping the ball moving. And that team is I'm not saying they were the Warriors of a few years ago, but they have those same kind of pieces where you can pass around. And a lot of times what happens is if guys don't touch the ball, they become disinterested on the defensive side as well. And then the next thing you know, the game gets away from them. So, that everything in my body says Celtics here. So we'll roll that one with the Celtics. We did catch 8.5, like I said, on ESPN Bet. So if you have that, make sure you shop that around because there's a bunch of 9s all over the place. Celtics minus 3.5 first quarter. And we did the 3.5 here because we were either going to take major juice at 3 or 3.5. So if we're going to win, they're going to have to win by 4 anyway. So we'll take the plus money on FanDuel at 3.5 in the first quarter. Minus 5 first half. Porzingis for us has been cashing like mad crazy. So we'll go back to if he doesn't play, avoids the bet. But if he does play, we think we got a great shot at making money here on those. So Porzingis over 19.5 points, over 1.5 threes, over 28.5 par. Drew Holiday, over 13.5 points. His point total has went up a point. Normally it's been sitting 12.5 most of the season, but 13.5 here. Over 1.5 threes as he has shot the three ball pretty well. Over 22.5 par. And then we're going to come back with Cam Thomas under 2.5 assists. This might be, the number is extremely low, right? For these guys to get 3 assists, it's basically he accidentally passed to somebody and 3 guys hit a shot. So it's not the easiest bet in the world. It is a lot easier when it's under 3.5. I will put it to you that way. But the under 2.5 assists and over 2.5 turnovers for Cam Thomas, he doesn't. It's amazing to me that he doesn't have a lot more turnovers because you see like a lot of, but they end up being shots instead of bad passes. So when you don't pass the ball, basically they have to steal the ball, which makes it hard to get to the turnover. But it is plus 150 on DraftKings. We're not betting that one as heavy on that over 2.5 turnovers, but a good shot there. If you can't tell, the Nets, in my opinion, the best thing they could do is figure out a way to trade Cam Thomas. I'll be really honest with you, but he can't. But I don't know if you'll notice though. No teams were like, we need shooters, and the first thing they think of is Cam Thomas. It's like they almost know it's bad for offense. So one more time in this Celtics-Nets matchup to get started on this Tuesday. Celtics minus 3.5 first quarter, minus 5 first half, minus 8.5 for the game. Porzingis over 19.5 points, over 1.5 threes, over 28.5 par. Drew Holiday over 13.5 points, over 1.5 threes, and over 22.5 par. Cam Thomas under 2.5 assists. Cam Thomas over 2.5 turnovers. Next game up for us is going to be Thunder Magic. So the Magic have played pretty well at home, no question about this. The Thunder, though, are laying a really low number here at 2.5. I thought this number would be closer to 5, to be really honest with you. But the Magic, like I said, have played well at home. Franz Wagner in the last few games has been his shooting's been outstanding. So Chet has I wouldn't say a subpar game, but not a big scoring game in the last game out a couple nights ago. So maybe he gets back to it. SGA and Jalen Williams really went off on the last game. I think SGA had 36 and Jalen had 30. I don't expect Jalen Williams to get those kind of shots. The Magic do play defense. They do slow the pace just a shade. The total is 223 in this one. We really considered the under here because I can see the Magic scoring 95, which leads you to a lot of under opportunities there as long as the Thunder don't go crazy. And we don't expect them to score 130 in this matchup for sure. So, but we do like the Thunder here. All that being said, so Thunder minus 1 first quarter, minus 1.5 first half, minus 2.5 for the game. And then basically we're all over Chet and SGA and Apollo Banchero prop in there as well. So we'll get started here. Chet Holmgren over 15.5 points. That was even money on DraftKings. Holmgren over 1.5 threes. And then we'll also sprinkle a little bit on Holmgren 3+ threes. SGA 1+ 3. SGA 2+ threes. The 1+ 3 is pretty heavily juiced. It's like minus 210. But the 2+ threes, which he's been hitting a lot of games, he's had 2+ threes. They sag that defense, which gives him some opportunities to knock that three, and he can't shoot that shot. I know he'd rather go to the hole, but if he starts hitting 3 threes a game, consistently, can you imagine what that's going to do to the defense? They're going to have to come up on him. It's going to be that much easier to get to the hole. So 2+ threes was plus 180 on DraftKings, the best we found on that one. Holmgren over 25.5 par, over 2.5 blocks, 4+ blocks, 5+ blocks. We'll sprinkle a little bit of money on those. Maybe he tries to keep up with Wemby, who had 10 blocks last night, so we'll see that. Holmgren has had 7 blocks in a game in this season, so it definitely a great possibility there. SGA 2+ steals, and then Banchero over 2.5 turnovers. As he's been pretty consistently at 3 turnovers for most of the season. So one more time, this Thunder Magic matchup. Thunder minus 1 first quarter, minus 1.5 first half, minus 2.5 for the game. Holmgren over 15.5 points, over 1.5 threes, 3+ threes, over 25.5 par, over 2.5 blocks. We'll also sprinkle a little bit on 4 and 5 blocks in this game. SGA 1+ 3, or I should say 1 made 3. SGA 2+ made 3s. And then SGA 2+ steals, and then Banchero over 2.5 turnovers. Next game up, Bucks Heat. Bucks at home again, coming off the back-to-back after they destroyed Denver last night. We got that game. We nailed Malik Beasley, though. Unfortunately, didn't play the fourth quarter, so we couldn't get off 2 more points to hit all those props. But nevertheless, the Bucks looked pretty solid last night, but back-to-back's a different story, and the Heat are the best team in the world at mucking it up, and I promise you they're probably going to double the crap out of Giannis, as they typically do, but no Jimmy Butler tonight again, so We're going to stay away from the side and total on this one, though. We're still trying to figure out if they're going to start covering bigger numbers. I really like them when they're dogs. I'm interested. When they're a favorite, it's got to be almost less than 3 for me at the current moment. 8's just too many to lay right now. Not enough confidence betting the Bucks. But we do like some player props in this matchup. Giannis over 29.5 points on FanDuel. Beasley over 11.5 points, over 3 plus 3s. Amazingly enough, he had 10.5 was his point total last night. He finishes at 9, and that, of course, now goes up to 11.5, right? But Giannis over 11.5 rebounds and over 48.5 par. Tyler Hero under 34.5 par. And then Bam Adebayo over 2.5 turnovers. So Bucks in the Heat matchup, we've got Giannis over 29.5 points, over 11.5 rebounds, over 48.5 par. Malik Beasley over 11.5 points, 3 plus 3s for him. Tyler Hero under 34.5 par. Bam Adebayo over 2.5 turnovers. Next game up, Kings going to the Suns. Kings getting somewhere, depending on what book you're at, 4.5 to 5. I know DraftKings has it at 4.5, like really low juice, and then it's 5 at FanDuel. 244.5 total. So in this particular one, the Kings have won 3 out of 4 so far in this, or 2 out of 3. Sorry, the third game Phoenix won, but only by 2, and that was at home. They lost the other, they lost the other 2, but I don't think they can. If the Suns are going to win, this is going to come down to the wire against the Kings. For some reason, the Kings just kind of have their number, and the one that really has their number is Domantas Sabonis in this one. They really don't have a matchup too much for Sabonis. I like Nurkic. He's a nice piece, but he's not Sabonis' level. What Sabonis does well, which is distribute the ball like Jokic. I wouldn't call him a poor man's Jokic because he can put up similar numbers. He might just not score as much, but he can score, and he can take the ball to the rim. Which he does repeatedly normally against Phoenix. We're here in Phoenix, bro. I'm telling you, it's been tough to kind of figure them out on exactly, and then it's always everybody's game time decision, except amazingly enough, Durant's been healthy for pretty much the first 50 games of the season. Didn't expect to say that. Bradley Beal's missed a lot of time. Booker's missed a lot of time. If I was going to pick anybody who's going to be healthy majority of the season, I'd pick Book, but they both missed playing time, which has led to maybe continuity issues. They made some trades at the deadline, which hurt their depth. Again, it amazes me that they don't want to add depth. They claim they added depth. They traded guys that weren't in their rotation, but the rotation was too small. You're going to grind these guys out playing them close to 40 minutes a game. I mean, if you're really wanting to win in the playoffs, these guys need to rest. They need contributors off the bench that are going to give, where Booker and Durant and Beal need to play about 32 minutes a game. If you can keep them around 32 minutes and keep getting wins, that's kind of where you need to be. This 38 to 40 minute stuff, it's going to wear on these guys, and come playoff time, they're either going to get injured or they're just not going to have not enough juice left to get the job done and win a championship. So, but we do like the Kings here, just based off of what they've done to them so far this season. If you're looking for analysis on that end, I think that's the best analysis you're going to get. The Kings just playing pretty well. So Kings plus 1.5 first half, plus 2.5. Plus 1.5 first quarter, plus a half third quarter, plus 2.5 first half, and plus 5 for the game. Sabonis, like we mentioned, really does the number on the Suns normally. So over 19.5 points. He had 21 in their last matchup. Over 41.5 par. I think he had 50 plus par in their last matchup. And over 13.5 rebounds, which was plus money on FanDuel. Make sure you shop that one around. FanDuel is at plus 110, and everybody else is like at even money or minus 105. So definitely some advantage there by betting that way. And then also, we're going to take Malik Monk under 17.5 points, under 2.5 threes, and over 1.5 turnovers. Monk hasn't had 18 points against the Suns in any game so far this season. He's only hit 3 threes 1 out of the 3 games. So we'll go to that there. Just keep that trend with Malik Monk going against the Suns, even though he comes off a couple monsters in a row. And then Monk over 1.5 turnovers. He tends to have 2 turnovers against the Suns pretty regular. So we like those plays there. But Kings plus 1.5 first quarter, plus a half third quarter, plus 2.5 first half, plus 5 for the game. Sabonis over 19.5 points, over 41.5 par, over 13.5 rebounds. Malik Monk under 17.5 points, under 2.5 threes, and over 1.5 turnovers. Next game up is going to be the Timberwolves and the Trailblazers. T-Wolves 8.5, 9-point favorite, depending on where you're getting your number. In Portland, I think Scoot's out for sure. Simons is on the injury report as a game time decision. There's the Trailblazers. They haven't been pretty so far this season. Let's be honest with you. I mean, if you really want to play this game, I know everybody's going to want to play at Minnesota, and can they cover? They come off a monster win yesterday against the Clippers. They dismantled the Clippers in the second half. So, think what you want, I guess, on that. They were a 4.5-point dog that wins by 20. Maybe they laid out a little bit too much juice and then have a hard time kind of bouncing back tonight on the second half of a back-to-back. Trailblazers have played, they've covered some games. They're not the worst cover team in the league. That's for damn sure on that one there. So, we're going to stay away from the side. If this line starts getting where the Trailblazers are getting double digits, we probably go back to this well, and we'll play the Blazers. So make sure you do check out the Google Sheets at the end of the show make sure you have all of our updated bets. Sometimes we do add those as we get closer to game time, as we try to put these hours and hours ahead of time. So, but we are going to play some player props here. Gobert over 12.5 rebounds, over 1.5 blocks. Edwards over 2.5 turnovers, and 8 and over 1.5 turnovers. So not a lot of action in this particular matchup. It's just really hard to kind of figure out what the T-Wolves are going to be able to muster up. Definitely a game if you like, like live lining this game is probably a great opportunity, especially if the Blazers get out to an early lead. Maybe you can catch a little bit of love there, but on that one. Or if you want to take the Blazers side, maybe the T-Wolves get out a little bit to a lead. So we'll go through those plays, though. We do have in this game Gobert over 12.5 rebounds, over 1.5 blocks. Anthony Edwards over 2.5 turnovers, and DeAndre Ayton with the Blazers over 1.5 turnovers. Last game of the slate, Pistons going to the Lakers. Pistons 10.5-point dog. Lakers, we'll see what happens, right? Everybody's LeBron and Anthony Davis continue to be always on the injury report. So, they should play, but who the hell knows at this point if they're going to or not. Spencer Dinwiddie just signed. Don't know if he's going to be available quite as of yet. But the Pistons have been really good as a double-digit dog. So I know they traded away Bogey, and they're not great, and they had they lost for 2 straight months and all that kind of stuff. But they've been good as a double-digit dog here. So we're going to continue to ride them as the double-digit dog. And they just played the Clippers, and that game was cover city for when you laid the money with the Pistons. Now, the Pistons were 16-point dogs in that particular game and only 10.5 here, but no, I don't think going to be any issue whatsoever. So we'll take the Pistons again as a double-digit dog, plus 3.5 first quarter, plus 6 first half, plus 10.5 for the game. Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham. Jaden Ivey over 21.5 points, over 2.5 threes on that one. Cade Cunningham over 21.5 points, over 1.5 threes, and we'll also go over 33.5 par, as he's been doing a good job distributing the ball. And then we're going to go to Jalen Duren over 11.5 rebounds. Anthony Davis over 2.5 blocks. Also, Anthony Davis, 4+ blocks. And then we'll take LeBron over 2.5 turnovers. Normally, LeBron's number, just FYI, is 3.5 turnovers. So they really lowered this because it's the Pistons. So I think some good opportunity there. I mean, I love LeBron, right? I mean, I don't hate LeBron. This is a numbers deal. It's about as simple as it gets, right? So, I mean, we're going to go with, 2.5 turnovers for LeBron is too light. I don't care who he's playing. So, on that one. So, it's kind of just make sure you keep an eye out. Sometimes they don't, the book's like, oh, they're playing the Pistons, so the point totals on the other team go way up, or everything else has got to go, if it's negative against them, like turnovers are, it's got to go down. It's not necessarily how it works, so all the time, but it does happen. Trust me. I'll give you a prime example if you're looking at stuff like that. James Harden over 2.5 turnovers, and if you follow the show at all, we have played this almost every damn game. Well, so he's in a game against the Pistons, he's plus 130 at over 2.5 turnovers and hits 5. Last night against the T-Wolves, same 2.5 turnovers, but instead of plus 130, it's minus 130. You got a better defense coming into town. I understand all that one, but he doesn't hit that one. So, which one do you prefer on that? We end up at a dead heat on those two games because we hit the plus 130 and we missed the minus 130. But that's stuff you just have to kind of watch out for. Just because it's the Pistons coming to town or the Hornets coming to town. The Hornets, win straight up yesterday as a 10-point dog against the Pacers at home. Anything can happen in these NBA games, so just make sure you keep that in mind. We're not, bankroll-wise, we're not shoving our whole bankroll on anything when it comes to the NBA regular season, ever. But there's no point because anything can happen in these. It's kind of like baseball. There's just a lot of different games. We play trends, so we're not, and we're a huge volume bettor. Like yesterday, we had 100 bets or 100 wagers. How many guys are going to have 100 wagers on a game? Nobody I know of. We seem to be the worst degenerate out there when you watch, a lot of different shows and experts and all this kind of different stuff. But we also know, there's going to be games that we absolutely foobar on. So why wouldn't we play more games? Plus, it's not like we play every game out there. Now, the NBA, normally we at least have one bet per game. There are some that we don't. We can't stand, so there's nothing we really like. But normally there's a prop or some sort of prop out there if we don't like the side or the game, the side or the total that we do like. So just keep that in mind. You don't have to bet every game. You don't have to lay everything on one bet. If you got $100 in the bankroll, probably not wise to play the $100 on something. I understand doubling your money is kind of exciting, or a lot, and all that, but not necessarily the way. Investment wise, if you have $100 in your stock portfolio, where do you want to start off at? Do you want to put it all in one stock, or do you want to diversify it out? So diversification here, we think, is the key. And the key is to keep being profitable every day and watch the bankroll build, and then you can play more and more off of that, or just play more and more units. So I know, a lot of times our min bet a lot of times is 10 units. So maybe you make your min unit 1 unit, and then base it off of that. So if we've got 15 units on something, that's 1.5 units you need to play. That makes life a little bit simpler for us. The 10 works. The 10 works out. Makes sometimes the math a little bit easier as well. Trying to figure out all these, because we are a volume bettor, so it takes a while to punch these in. So just something to keep in mind when you're looking at these Google Sheets, which will help. It shows all of our bets. Then it's going to show what juice we got those at. It's also going to show how many units, and then also what book we placed those at. So that way you get a good idea of where we're going, what we saw, what value we saw in those as well. So make sure you check out those Google Sheets when you get some time. And as always, if you can subscribe and get notifications to our YouTube channel, so when it makes life a lot simpler when you do so. You just hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on for YouTube, and you'll get a notification to your phone or device every time we drop a new episode of bets, which is basically daily, of bets that we got going on, and give you plenty of time to match them up with the bets you like and give you that ton of confidence you need heading to the betting app or betting window to make some of that money. I do appreciate everybody's support as always, and look forward to seeing you in the next episode.